Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Baba Kama daf Yud Dalid. We're going to begin on Yud Dalid and Alf, about 6 lines from the top, with the word Aini. So we saw in yesterday's daf that there's a machlokus between Rav Chisda and Rav Elazar. We know that when it comes to the dinim of Shein and Regel, that if damage took place in the Rishus Harabim, potter. That's because the pasuk says that it has to be done in some type of other rishus. Now we also know that if the nizik's animal goes into the mazik's and in mazik's rishus, and the mazik's animal does damage, then also he's going to be potter because he's going to say shurcha b'rishusi, my boy. Why would your animal be trespassing in my property? So Rav Chisda and Rav Elazar argue when it comes to the din of Shein and Regel, whether or not you're going to be chayiv or potter in chatzar hashutvin, a courtyard among partners. And on this, Rashi explained that it's referring to im acha behemto shel zeh peirosav shel zeh. That let's say one partner's ox ate the fruits of the other partner, or one ox ended up causing damage by trampling on, while walking, the property of the other shutaf. So in that situation, it's a machlokas. So Aini, v'hatani Rav Yosef, chatzar shutvin. So we see clearly, again, this mentioning of this chatzar shutvin. V'apunduk, which we're going to have to understand what exactly is this case of a punduk, some type of a hotel, chayiv. It says beferish that you're chayiv by a chatzar shutvin. So that's a tiyufta Rabbi Elazar. This is a tiyufta Rabbi Elazar who said you're potter. So how does he understand this? How does he get out of this? So Rabbi Elazar says you're potter. How could he deal with this? It says explicitly the opposite. He says you're chayim. He says v'tizbra. Does that make sense? Masnisam milo pligi. You want to not tell me that there's an argument with regard to this? You want to tell me that there's not going to be a brisa that is going to hold like me, says Rashi, the lake of brisa that koi kavasi. Vasanya. I'll show you that there's an opinion that says you're going to be potter. Let's go through this. Arba close, Rav Shimon ben Elazar, Omer ben Izakin. He said there's 4 general rules. Kol shirishus lenizik vo mazik chay b'koil. Anytime it's in the rishus of the nizik, not the mazik, then you're chayiv completely. Gemara says, Rashi says, l'kama farish shefil karen tama. Even when it comes to karen, which normally the first few times as a tam you only pay chatzi nezik. Mishom nezik shalim. Hoyel v'nichnas reshusay v'hazika. Since this mazik's animal went into the nizik's property, so to go into the nizik's property, you're chayav always, even the first time. On the other way around, the mazik v'lo nizik pater mikoil. Let's say the nizik's animal, as we said before, goes into the mazik's property, then you're potter completely. As we said before, tarcha b'rishusi, my boy. So it's interesting. If the mazik's ox goes into the nizik's ox, you're always chayav nezek shalom, even by Karen. If the nizik's ox goes into the mazik's rishus, you're completely potter. That's rule number 2. Let's say we're dealing with a rishus in which both the nizik and mazik have some connection to. Kegoin chatzar hashutvin. So we say clearly this is a case of chatzar hashutvin. Vahabika, in a valley, which we'll understand what that's referring to. Potter bal shein val regel. So let's go slow. It says beferish by chatzar hashutvin, like the sheet of Rabbi Elazar, that you're taka potter when it comes to shein and regel. However, al negich, al negif, al neshich, al revitza, when it comes to goring and all of its toldos, which includes pushing or biting, trampling or lying down or kicking, tam mishom chatzin nezek, mu'in mishom nezek sholim. So that's the din. When it comes to a Karen, when it comes to the horn, that's when we say the difference between paying chatzin nezek and nezek sholim in the event of we're dealing with a chatzar shut. However, the point that we're trying to show is that why are you asking a kasher Rabbi Elazar? We find another brisa that supports the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. Lo zev lo zeh, if let's say it's a rishus where not the nizik or the mazik, no animals allowed to go in, can go in chatzar sheina shel shneim, or against we're talking about just stam that you can't go in, but it's not theirs. So chayiv boy al shein vel regel, you're gonna be chayiv on shein and regel. In that situation, you will be chayiv. On the gifa vel neshich vel on the gifa vel ritza vel beita tam mishom chatzin nezek mu mishom nezek sholim. So when it comes to a tam or muid paying chatzin nezek or nezek sholim, that's it, either in a place where it belongs to both the nezek and mazik, or a place where it does not belong to either of them. However, we make distinctions when it comes to shein v'regel. Ketanim is we still learn chatzar shotvin v'habika. So kasha dadi, so it's a stira. So Rabbi Elazar can just push it, say, okay, it's a machlos tanoim. So Gemara says no. Ki tanya hahi, maybe this second brisa that says by chatzar shutvin that your potter is b'chatzar hamyuchedes l'zeh l'zeh. We're talking about it's a chatzar which is designated for both of them, bein leperes, bein l'shvar, both for fruits and for oxen. Now it's a total chatzar shutvan. So it's dealing with an entirely a chatzar shutvan. So then, in that situation, you're going to be potter, like Rabbi Elazar. How does he get out of the case before that says you're chayiv on chatzar shutvan? So hahi the Rabbi Yosef, the case of Rabbi Yosef, which we said above, the very first thing we said, Rabbi Yosef. It's only designated to put fruits there, but not for oxen to go. So in that situation, we say like this: when it comes to the din of the shein, it's considered to be like going into the chatzar nizik, and therefore because of that, because it's not that the mazik has rishus for his animal to go there. Therefore, it's considered to be like it's going into the chatzar hanizik, and that's the reason why you're chayiv. But if it would be a chatzar shutin, also for shvarim, so then, like Rabbi Elazar says, then you're potter. Take a nami de tani, hacha domia de pundik, beautiful diak. When we mentioned chatzar shutvan above, we mentioned a pundik. What's a pundik? A pundik is like a hotel. So if we're dealing with a hotel, you probably are not going to have a bunch of oxen running around in a hotel, but you may put produce there, and therefore that's what it's alluding to. Over there, the other case is talking about a valley, an open field. An open field is a good place for oxen to go. So it's shma mina. So we see this beautiful diak between the two brises. One case it talks about a pundik. One place it talks about a bika. So that gives us a little bit of an insight as to what this is actually referring to. It's referring to a place in which oxen will go or oxen will not go. Okay. Good. Okay. Fighting. So that's how he's able to, for this the kasha. Mask Reb Zera. We'll focus on again Reb Zera. So Reb Zera asked the kasha. Kivan dimiuchedes leperis. If you're telling me that we're talking about a situation where it's not miyuched for shvarim, but it's miyuched for Paris, namely the mazik and the nizik can bring their fruit there, so then why would we say that is a case where you be chayiv? It has to be someone else's field. It's not someone else's field because you can bring your fruit there. So Abaye says to Rav Zera, since it's not miyuchad l'shvarim, that's why it's considered to be like another field. It's ste'acher doesn't refer to that you have no ability to use it at all. It means that you can't use it for oxen, and therefore that's the reason why it is considered to be ste'acher, and therefore that's the reason why you're going to be chayav. Korean Bay. Why don't we say that since we just established these brisos, that there's really no argument? So Amorai Namio Pligi. Why don't we do the same thing? That maybe the Amoraim themselves, or Chisner and Melazar, don't argue. They're just talking about the case which is miyuchad l'shvarim, or case which is not miyuchad l'shvarim. Amalei in. Yeah. Dim Tim Salam Pligi. If you want to tell me they argue, maybe it's Bekush Rav Zera who Peruka da Bai Pligi. The question of Rav Zera, whether he says L'chara it's not Be'er B'ste'acher, and Abaye says since it's not Miyuchad L'shvarim, it's still considered to be Ste'acher. Kufa. Let's go back to what we said before. We're going to break down this important brisa here. Arba close how you Rav Shimon ben Elazar Oimrim and Zokin. One of these four categories or rules, Koshu Rishus Lanizik Vol Mazik Chayabakoil. If the mazik's animal goes into the nizik's property, you're always chayav for everything. You always have to pay nesek shalom, even if it's even if it is a tam. Al hakol lo katani. Bakoil, which means Bekuli Nezek, which is how I already explained it. Mani Rav Tarfon he. Derma Mishuna Karen B'chatzin Nizik Karen Shalom Mishalim. So according to the Shita Rav Tarfon, which is actually Machlokus, Rav Tarfon is of the opinion which we're establishing, he must be holding Rav Tarfon, that when an ox damages in Rishus HaNizik, you always pay Nezek Shalom. So Ema Seva. Look at the latter part. If this is a property which is not owned by the mazik or the nizik, they don't own it. You're chayiv on shen and regel. So my lo zevel is that. What does it mean? They have no connection at all. Doesn't make any sense. Someone else owns this property. So the nizik and the mazik's animals were found on a third person's property, and that's where the damage took place. It has to be considered b'ste'acher, and that wouldn't be a case of ste'acher. It means it doesn't belong to both of them, but it belongs to one of them. So ratio of tarif the Sefer Rabbanon. We're basically saying the Sefer means it only belongs to one of them, which obviously has to be talking about it belongs to the Nizik. So therefore it's really the same case as the first case. Well, why is it a separate thing? That the Mazik's animal goes to the Nizik's Rishus. So it says over here that you pay. It says you pay Chati Nezik. Chati Nezik. Mudas Mishalem Nezik Sholim. Who is that? That's the sheet of not the Rav Tarfon. That's the sheet of the Rabbanon. So l'chayra the Reisha is Rav Tarfon. The Sefer is Rabbanon. And yeah. Leave it alone. But Basroi and come after me. Reisha Rav Tarfon. The Sefer Rabbanon. So fine. No, cool Rav Tarfon he. Really, the whole thing is Rav Tarfon. So again, we can understand the first part when it says, and you have to say it sounds pretty clear. It's like Rav Tarfon, who says that when it comes to an ox that goes into the Nizik's Rishus and does damage, so then you have to pay Nezik Shalom. That's the sheet of Rav Tarfon, which sounds like what this price is saying. But the Sefer talks about Chati Nezik. So my lo zevel Paris el dechad. It means when it comes to fruits, it belonged to one person. It was zel shvarim. But when it came to the oxen, both of them had rights. So he had no rights to bring his fruits in this field. He only had rights to bring the shore. So now we can understand. When it comes to the din of Shane, that's considered to be Chatzar and Nizik, because it damaged in the Nizik's property, and he had the right to bring these peros, where the other one did not have the right to bring peros. So therefore, it's considered like Rishus and Nizik. However, Gabi Karen Havilu Rishus Arabim. When it comes to the case of Karen, it's like it does damage to the Rishus Arabim, where you pay Chatzei Nezek. So it's not talking about a case of, the Seif is not talking about a case of doing damage in the Rishus of the Nizik, because in that case, Rav Tarfon will hold you would pay Nezek Shalom. But in this case, we're talking about the Nizik had rights to put Peros and Shvarim. So therefore, since it's considered to be Rishus and Nizik, so you're chayiv for Shane. However, for Karen, you only pay Chatzei Nezek because it's considered to be like a Rishus Harabim in this regard. Why? Says Rashi, Gabi Shane havi Chatzar Nizik. V'chayva mazik b'niski Shane, shar Gabi Paris enu el de Nizik. It's not considered, it's the Nizik's property, because the Nizik's property is talking about the fruits, and it ate the fruits. Therefore, you're going to pay Nezek Shalom on that. Or when it comes to Karen, it has the status of a Rishus Harabim, because the Mazik as well as the Nizik both have the ability to be able to bring their oxen into this area. Somewhere it says there was 4 cases, right? So that's what he said. Ihachi arba shloisha havi. It's really 3. It's really only 3 cases. So Amar Rav Nachman Amar Yitzchak, it's true, as we continue to test to Yodalad Bebeis, rather. Shloisha klolos ba'arbim koimais. There's 3 klolos in 4 different places. Okay. So again, Rav Tarfon only says Nezik Shalem is if it is in the Rishus HaNizik only. But here, it is B'shutvin, since the Mazik and Nizik could bring in their shore. So that's the reason why you only pay Chatzei Nezek in this situation. Okay. All right. Let's see. There's no questions here. Let's see. Question 3 is no question. And no, none of them have any questions. Okay. It's a harder piece, so it's maybe difficult to come up with a question. Okay. Let's see the next Mishnah. Masnisa. Shum Kesef, the evaluation of money. Shava Kesef, the value, something of the value of money. What is this talking about? So Rashi helps us a little bit and says, don't worry. Kul Masnisa Mefarshim Gemara. This Mishnah will be explained. So if you don't understand it now, you'll get it down soon. Bifnei Beistin, in front of a Beistin. V'alpi Eidim, you have to have witnesses. B'nei Chayrin, has to be unencumbered. B'nei Bris, has to be someone who had a bris, or milah. V'nashim b'chlal hanezik v'hanashim b'chlal hanezik v'hanizik v'hamazik b'tashlumin. Okay. Very interesting language of a Mishnah. So, Maishum Kesef, what is that referring to? The evaluation of money. So, Amar Yehuda, Shum ze loye elo b'kesef. The evaluation should only be done, evaluating the damages should only be with kesef, says Rashi. Shiu based in Shumin, Kama Shava HaNezek, Mano Masai Mikachi Shalimo. The Beis Din is going to basically evaluate how much money the damages are, and then you have to pay those damages. Tanino Hadatan Rabbanon, Parsha Zika, Talis. Let's say a cow that damaged a talus. And Rashi says, for example, Shedarsla b'chatzar nizik, it trampled on this talus in the courtyard of the nizik, or but talus shehezika para. You have a talus that damaged a para in the Shasarabim somehow, and it tripped over it, let's say, and it broke its leg. Ein armim tetzi para b'talus v'talus b'para. We don't say, says Rashi, yitol es a para shazika. Take this ox that damaged talisai lo tehe nishaymes ela hein chasav hein yoisei etelena. So it's like, okay, your ox damaged. All right, so take the talus and that as damages. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to evaluate how much it was, and you have to pay with money. So, and it's not like, oh yeah, the talus caused the ox to be tripped. Here's the talus. There has to be an evaluation. Okay. So we'll have to obviously understand this a little bit better, but that's Pashim Shah. Shova Kesef. The Tanabanan. Shova Kesef, when it says Shova Kesef, Malamid, She'en based in the Skokin, on the Chosim Shesha Hemachrayas. The Beis Din is only obligated, it says Rashi, Li Paramin Hamazik, to pay back from the one who did the damage, is only, says Rashi, Elim Kin Yeshul Karka, is only if this person has land, which is what it means by Shava Kesef, that this person has land. Im Kadam Nizik, Petafas Metaltalin, let's say the Nizik grabbed hold of Metaltalin, based in Gaivin Loy Mehen. The Beis Din will collect it from them. Amar Shava Kesef Malam Shem based in the Skokin El Menachasim Sheshu Hemachrayas. So again, that the Beis Din is only going to have the mazik paid back, provided that there is karka. So my mashma maraba barula davar shava kol kesef, something which is equal to all money. My new davar she'ein lo onna, something which has no onna, which we know is karka. That says Rashi shefil kanu b'yosim edemeyim shtus ein moicher chayv l'achzir lo. Typically, when it comes to metaltalin, if you overcharge someone by, let's say, over a sixth, so that's considered to be like a mekach tois, and we say the mekach is bottle. But now when it comes to land, however, says Rashi, quoting the challenging Perik and Hazav, Havadim v'ashtaris v'karkos ein lehem onah, if you'll kind of be yosim edmeim. Okay, Avadim Ishtaris Nami Ein Lehem Ona. So they also don't have Ona. So why are we only mentioning Karka? El Omaraba Bar'ula Davar Hanikna B'Kesef, something which is acquired with money. Rashi says below Mashicha. The Karka Nikna B'Kesef, as we saw in the first parak in Kedushin. Avadim Ishtaris Nami Nikna B'Kesef. But that's not just land. Land is not the only thing you can use. Be kind with Kesef. Again, Metaltalin, you need Mashicha. But Avadim and Shtaris is the same thing. So Elo Amaravashi, Shava Kesef, Lo Kesef. When it says Shava Kesef, it's excluding Kesef itself. Vahani Ku Kesef Ninhu. And these are all considered to be Kesef, says Rashi. El Omer of Ashi, Shava Kesef, Dahainu Karkois, it's land. Vahachi Mashmi, Shava Kesef Yishalim. Vo Kesef Atzmo. Not the money itself. Vahani kuhu metaltalin v'avadim ishtaros kesev ninhu. All forms of metaltalin, even we're dealing with avadim and shtaros, that's still considered to be like movable. It's like money, of value. Demati lamtinhu b'masal masa umizdavdine. Because even though sometimes maybe we compare a shtar and evan to karka, but it is 90. It's something which you can move. You can, if you can't sell it here, you can sell it somewhere else. And therefore, that's what it's referring to. When it says karka, it's referring to something in which does not have upon himself this din of kesef. It's shava kesef, which is karka v'lo kesef, which is everything. Okay, other than land. Ramler Rabbi Yehuda bar Chinanel Rav Huda bar Rabbi Yeshua. Tana shavak kesef olam shein beis niskokin el melchasim shetam achrayis. As we said regarding to karka. Vosanya yasher rabba shavak kesef nefil subin. What do you mean? You only collect land. He can give back, the mazik can give back anything. He can even give back bran. So what do you mean? You can collect anything. So what do you mean it's only land? So hachamayaskinan biyasmi. We're talking about yisaymim. What is that? Kamrinan. Di shavakahu avuhoin. Hamazik mikarkoi. If let's say the father left land, gabi minahu by the yisaymim. Of a metaltali low. When it comes to metaltalin, we're not going to collect. The metaltali yasmil mishavdi lebal chayiv. You're right. When it comes to a mazik himself, he can pay back in any way he wants. Even subin, even bran. However, we're talking not about the mazik, but the mazik died. But his children, her yisoymim, was yarish their estate. But there's a financial obligation to have to pay back the damages. So the only time we're going to require when it comes to yisaymim is dafka when it comes to karka. But if there's no karka, then we're not going to collect from the yisaymim. So let's hold off on a second. Let's look at question 6. Shum kesef shava kesef. Mahu shava kesef ditnan. So shava kesef is referring to, as we said, karka. So how can we say you can only collect karka? Didn't we learn yashiv as a rabbi shava kesef feels subin? Yeah, normally. But here we're talking about ashur. We're talking about the assignment. But if we're just dealing with the mazik himself, you're right, yashiv feels subin. But over here we're not talking about we're not talking about the mazik. We're talking about the children, the assignment of the mazik. So there we will only collect from karka. So the Gemara says, 1 second. Ibi asked me, if we're in fact talking about Yisaymim, so this is how you read the Mishnah, by the way. Shum kesef shava kesef. That when it comes to collecting and evaluating, when it comes to Yisaymim, it has to be shava kesef, which in this case is referring to karka. That's referring to land. Okay? In this case, shava kesef is actually dafka referring to karka. But that's only when we're told, because our Mishnah is Yisaymim. Okay. Maybe ask me, I'm a seifa. Im kadam nizik v'tafas metaltalin. Let's say the nizik grabs hold of the metaltalin, let's say of the Yisaymim. Based in goivin lo mehen. So the based in collects from them. Now, Ibi asked me, if we're talking about the Yisaymim, the mazik, am I based in goivin lo mehen? What's this whole understanding? Why would they be able to collect? Says Rashi, what does that mean? That what happened was, the reason why we're allowing him to keep it is because they were typhus already while the father was still alive. However, if the father wasn't alive and then they were typhus, then that din would not fly. We'd only be able to collect from Yisaymim from karka. However, the reason why it works is because they were already grabbed onto the metaltal while the father was alive, and therefore we're going to say that's the unacceptable collection. Okay, maybe one more piece. Prat bifnei beistin. Prat, what does that exclude? If the mazik is l'moichin chasav, if the mazik sells his possessions, and then afterwards he goes to Beistin. Says Rashi, V'kilo hamois. So he sold his possessions. He has no more money. He spent his money. Uvola Beistin. The ain Beistin Ephraim min al-kuchais. In that situation, we're not going to collect from those encumbered properties. Shema mino loivo machar nechasav. If you have someone who borrowed money and he sold his possessions, v'achach bola Beistin ain Beistin goyven lemehen. L'chayra. That should apply when it comes to all loans. I borrow money, and then I sell all my properties, then I spend all my money. So this person has nothing. So can you collect from the lukuchos? Normally we say that you can, says Rashi. Bitmia, b'ha'kaimelon de'asi malva v'tarif. We know that there is a shibud, these are encumbered properties, which means there's a lien. So the malva should be able to get it back. But it sounds like over here, for some reason, he can't do that. Why? Why when it comes to the dinim of being a mazik, it's the same thing. You're a bal chayiv. You owe money to someone. So you're right. Ella, when it says b'fnei beistin, it's prat b'beistin hed yoitos. Says Rashi, L'hachi asam asnisin the beistin mumchin done in dini kanasais. Over here we're dealing with important cases of kanas, and therefore you need a beistin of experts. V'lo beistin hed yotos. So that's what it's coming to exclude. So far, I'm going to stop here. Shum kesef, shava kesef, karka with Yisaimim, bifnei beistin, it has to be a beistin of mumchin and not hedyoitais. Okay, let's see maybe a question or two. TA2. Tanan, shum kesef, bifnei beistin. Bifnei beistin, l'muti mai, bahava mina maskana. So, as we just saw, the havamina is that it's referring to a base that this person, what did he do? He was moide b'knas. I didn't do that. Rather, so he said that shouldn't work. You should still be chayiv. You should still be able to collect. Rather, the maskana is prat lebastin head yoitais. Okay, TB 3. Shum kesef shavat kesef ma'an shavat kesef. So I wrote shavat kesef zekarka. V'ez oivin married enu goyva ella shavat kesef. V'afal pi b'derech klal goyva filu subin. I wrote sufin. Subin metaltlin avol hamishnasenu mari b'yisaimim she'ein shibud al hamataltlin adkan.